Hey, what is going on, Fan Clan? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Danny Phantom. You can actually call me Dapper Danny for this video if you want, or Dapper Fanny if you would prefer. Dressed up a little bit more than I normally am. My hair is not quite as messy as it usually is. We just celebrated my mom's birthday, so Mom Fanny, that doesn't make any, just ignore that part. But yeah, we just celebrated her birthday, and I've got a lot going on tomorrow or today when you're watching this video, so I figured I would record this video a little bit later at night. Hopefully no late night Fanny mode is activated during this video, but buckle up. You never know. You never know at all. We've got Terastal Festival coming very, very soon. Should be scheduled to arrive on Monday. I looked at a lot of tracking numbers. A lot of it's coming on Monday. The rest of it's coming on Tuesday. We will get all of your pre-orders shipped out as quickly as we possibly can. So some of it will go out on Monday, some of it will go out on Tuesday, some of it will go out on Wednesday, and then hopefully, if there's any stragglers, we'll get the rest of them out hopefully by Thursday at like the absolute latest, but it should be before that, as long as everything arrives and there's no delays or anything like that. If you haven't pre-ordered Terastal Festival from us yet, or actually if you have, first of all, thank you. You guys are absolutely amazing. We launched our Japanese store, KoroSeoShop.com. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. KoroSeoShop.com. I'll leave a link in the description below. We have a lot of booster boxes on there, but also a lot of other stuff that you can only get exclusively from Japan. Now, I understand there are other ways to order stuff from Japan, so if this is not the cheapest outlet, don't do it. Like, absolutely not. Like, if you are only ordering one box of something and you prefer to use the Pokemon Center in Japan and use a forwarding mail service, I honestly don't know exactly how that all works, but I do know a little bit about Japanese booster boxes now that I've started getting the hang of things a little bit more. But we will put up any remaining stock we have of Terastal Festival, so if you're still looking for a decent price, we should be able to get some for you near the end of next week. Once we get all the pre-orders out, we have quite a bit of extra product, but thank you so much to everybody who pre-ordered it. Honestly, it means so much to me, so thank you so much for that. We're actually going to talk about a Japanese set here that's not named Terastal Festival. We're going to talk about Pokemon 151, which is probably one of the most popular Japanese sets of all time, obviously up there with like Eevee Heroes and a lot of other sets. But when it comes to modern sets, Pokemon 151 is pretty much like the cream of the crop, the butter. Like a lot of people love Pokemon 151. I remember when it first came out, or even before it came out, booster boxes were already selling for double, triple MSRP. It was absolutely insane. And from what I've learned, if you don't know a whole lot about the Japanese market, there are ways to get booster boxes for fairly cheap. I'm not really certain on how to do that. There's a lot of really good YouTube videos that you can watch. I think Opossum Butt has talked about it before. I know there's a lot of good information out there where you can learn how to set up a forwarding service and get booster boxes directly from Japan shipped out to you. It does cost a little bit extra to ship, but you still can get a limited amount for MSRP and things like that. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about it, but what I do know is it's very difficult to get distribution access over in Japan. And because of that, there are requirements for storefronts who do have distribution access, which are going to be like your 7-Elevens and then like some big chains that are over there. They have to sell at MSRP there. They have to sell at, like, regulations, laws. At least that's my understanding. And if I'm understanding it wrong and you know better, obviously feel free to let me know, especially in the comment section down below. But what happens is a lot of people line up in droves to purchase these boxes at MSRP, and then they will go and sell to a Pokemon card store in Japan, and they will post buy prices. So it's like this constant, almost what you would call scalping over here, this constant cycle to be able to get product, booster boxes, in the hands of storefronts over there, and then all of a sudden they would sell them to overseas distributors or overseas companies, or keep it in-house at a little bit higher price point. So they will post buy prices and things like that for people who are lining up to purchase at MSRP that they can then go sell to these stores, and they'll buy them at, you know, X amount of yen per box. And depending on the set, that kind of depends like on demand, how many boxes they will buy, what the price point looks like, and that's why you get these inflated prices over here. So it's all very interesting information. It's all very interesting stuff, and there probably are a lot better YouTubers who have talked about this in the past that you can learn better information from, but that's why it's so difficult over here sometimes to get these sets at MSRP, because they're selling for so much more over there already. And then when they get put over here, once you factor in shipping costs and things like that, you can see Terastal Festival already starting to creep up a little bit when it comes to price point. When I was looking on eBay before, even on Sneaker Dunk, once you factor in shipping and things like that, you're looking at north of $60, $65 for a booster box, and climbing up a little bit. Now, this is a high class set for Terastal Festival. I understand this has nothing to do with Pokemon 151. We're just going off on a tangent, apparently. But I understand this is a high class set, and from my understanding, that means it's going to be printed a lot. It's going to be printed closer to demand, which is very important. Now, I do think we're going to see ebbs and flows, and we're going to see prices jump up a lot. Pokemon 151 was not a high class set, but a couple sets that you can compare it to kind of would be like the likes of Shiny Star V, V-Star Universe, where there was a lot of supply that kind of hit the shelves and then turned around and then got repurposed and resold to a lot of the storefronts over there that then got redistributed at decent price points because there was so much, and they reprint those high-class sets especially quite a bit. Now, Pokemon 151 was not a high-class set, but they still have reprinted it multiple times, including last month. Now, last month's reprint was much smaller than I think a lot of people anticipated, and from my understanding and my knowledge, there is another reprint coming, but the distribution network is different. So the reprint that is coming right now is going to be more impactful to like 7-Elevens and places like that over there. So it probably will be a little bit smaller, but again, you'll see buy prices that get posted by these storefronts who then will go out and they will buy Pokemon 151 at a certain price point, so that way they can resell it and make maybe a few hundred yen per booster box. So not like a ton of money or anything like that, but it keeps this natural flow, this natural cycle kind of going where these booster boxes are constantly changing hands. It's a good thing and it's also a bad thing at the same time, but there's just not enough product really to meet the demand, or not enough supply to meet the demand for a set like Pokemon 151, and that's why we haven't seen this price crash back down to like $55 levels, which it was at in summer when there was this giant reprint. So what we're doing right now is we are looking at the price points of these single cards, so that way you can determine, is Pokemon 151 a good buy right now? Is it a good buy to open right now? Because there is a lot of really cool cards in the set. Obviously, it was the first set where the Master Ball Reverse Holo was introduced, which grabbed a lot of attention because people who wanted to collect, like, you have a Master Ball Reverse Holo, and it ends up becoming more rare than a lot of the secret rares in the set because there is so much difficulty in pulling one of those Master Ball Reverse Holos. You get one per booster box in Japan. One of those Japanese booster boxes of Pokemon 151, you only get one. Very rarely will you open up a booster box that has more than one, and with the sheer quantity of Master Ball Reverses in there, that means pull rates on something like that for a specific individual card, like let's say that Pikachu Master Ball, are more difficult, way more difficult than would be for like a secret rare, because there are less secret rares in the set than there are of the Master Ball promos. So you get one secret rare per box in most cases as well, but since there's less quantity of secret rares, that means technically an individual Master Ball is going to be more rare or more difficult to pull than any of the secret rares in the set. So I'm going to flip you guys around so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And what we did here is we just kind of laid out every card in the set and then went based off of pokedata.io. Now, I do have a question for anybody who has tried selling TCG Player Japanese cards. How is it going? Because I have not tried listing any Japanese cards on TCG Player. I have no experience with it as of yet, but I am very curious now that the setup is kind of like a month old. I still do get annoyed because there are still Japanese listings every once in a while that will creep up on the English side, so I still get a little bit annoyed that hasn't been all figured out yet, but I am interested to see how these are moving on TCG Player. So if you've sold anything on TCG Player when it comes to Japanese cards, or maybe you're somebody who exclusively sells Japanese cards, I really want to know how things are going. So let me know in the comments section down below, or reach out to me. You can email me. You can find me on Instagram, danny.phantom, but let me know how it's going. But we basically listed every single card that you could possibly pull from a Pokemon 151 booster box in Japan. A lot of people ask, why do you call it Pokemon 151? Well, that's the name for the set in Japan. When I'm referring to the English set, I'll call it Scarlet and Violet 151. But then we attributed a price with each single pull that you could possibly get, and then we took the averages based off of pull rate data, so that way you could determine on average what you're expected to pull out of your Pokemon 151 booster box, so that way you know, okay, well, on average, what's the value look like for this? So if I open it up, what should I expect to pull out of it? Is it close to the value of what I'm spending? What does the fund cost look like? And I always find these very interesting when we talk about it, because I think it's a good indicator of how a set is performing. But if we lay everything out, we're not going to go through everything, but there has been some movements on some of the single cards, which I think is very, very important. The Pikachu, for example, Master Ball, at one point in time when we looked at this a couple months ago, prior to the release of the reprint of Pokemon 151, was actually the second most expensive Master Ball in the set. It had gotten surpassed by the Gengar, and now it's flip-flopped. It's reversed back over. The Pikachu is now again the most expensive Master Ball in the set. And it's not like the Gengar fell a whole lot, it's just the Pikachu increased in value. Now, pokedata.io does a good job of taking all the listings from eBay and kind of averaging them together. So using utilizing eBay as kind of its number one indicator of where a price fluctuation is, or where a price market is, specifically when it comes to Japanese cards. TCG Player, I think, it could be an interesting resource in the future, but I think Pokedata.io is kind of the cream of the crop right now when it comes to trying to track data, especially on Japanese cards. But Pikachu, for example, has jumped up to a 207.17. So it's far down from where it used to be. Granted, we got that huge reprint in the middle of summer, which brought it down a lot. It was over $400 at one point in time, not too long after the set's release. Now it's come down to earth a little bit. So still very expensive at $207. But most expensive card in the set by far, $207.17. Then you have a whole slew of them here between $20, $30, and $40. So you've got the Erica's Invitation. This is just a trainer card. This is not the secret rare by any means. $30.84. You've got the Master Ball Mewtwo at $31. The Haunter at $32.50. The Eevee at $24.64. The Dragonite is up a little bit. That's at $37.51. The Flareon at $22.04. The Psyduck at $30.40. And like I said, I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm just going to kind of pinpoint some of them. The Gyarados, $34.25. Some of these have gone up a little bit. Some of them have gone down a little bit, but it's not going to do any good if I'm just reading them off and naming them all. You can kind of pause the video and look at them on your own accord if you so choose. The Mankey's at $9.63. We've got the Poliwhirl at $11.87. You've got the Charmeleon at $14.23. And these all have Reverse Holo and Master Ball equivalents. So there's multiple different variants that you can pull from. So when we're talking a master set, basically being any card that you could possibly pull from a booster pack, adding all those Master Balls into it, forget about Terastal Festival. That's going to be absolutely nuts. When you have Pokeball reverses and Master Ball reverses, all of a sudden you have 4 different variants of a single card that you can pull, because you have the normal Reverse Holo, the Pokeball Reverse Holo, the Master Ball Reverse Holo, and then the normal variant of the card. That is an absolute ton to try and collect. The Nidoking's at $13.50. You've got the Marowak there at $12.07. $12.61 for the Giovanni's Charisma. So a lot of them sitting right around $9, $10, $11, $12, somewhere in that area. We've got the safety goggles right here for $7.50. Here's that Gengar that we were talking about before. That one's currently sitting at $112.68. The Magneton's at $10. The extra type belt is currently at $10. You've got the Venonat at $11.78. $12.50 on the Sandshrew. $10.60 on the Gloom. Just kind of naming things that are over $10, have a little bit more value associated with them, like this Pidgeot for $11.31. You've got $12 on the Daisy's Care right there. And then if we keep going, $10.50 on the Goldeen, $10.37 on the Nidorina. You've got $10.53 on the Omastar right there, $12 on the Metapod. That's pretty much it. Everything else, for the most part, right around $7, $8, $9, $10. So if you are still missing some of the Master Balls from Pokemon 151, you might want to look more at buying singles. It's fun to open up 151 for sure, but when there's chase cards, especially with variants, when you're factoring in variants, if you're looking for, let's say, 10, 12, 15 Master Balls, the chances are you're going to pull a duplicate instead when you open up a booster box. Once you get half of those collected, it's more likely, obviously, that you're going to pull a duplicate than you are of a new one. So it's a lot more dangerous. And with a lot of these price points kind of being right around, $7, $8, $9, $10, somewhere around there, I'd start checking off some of those easier ones to get a hold of if your goal is to master Pokemon 151. When we look at the secret rares, remember, in Japan, any secret rare basically consists of a full art variant or higher. So what we get as a normal double rare in our English sets, they have as a secret rare over in Japan. So the Venusaur EX, this is just a full art right here, currently selling for $6.30. You've got the Charizard EX full art. We would call it a full art over here. Over there, it is a secret rare, $15.16. And you have a bunch of them right here, which are basically mid-level. Most of these, actually a lot of these, are selling for less than the cheapest of all of the Master Balls right here. So you've got Golem EX at $3.95, Kangaskhan EX at $3.89, Jinx at $3.36. Very, very cheap. You have a little bit more expensive of a full art here in Erica's Invitation at $14.76. And then when you get to the SARs, a lot of people ask what's the difference between an SAR and an SIR. Nothing really, except for the terminology that we use based off of the language barrier. So in Japan, they're called special art rares, which are SARs, or art rares, which are ARs. And in English, we call them SIRs, which are special illustration rares, or IRs in reference to an illustration rare. So that's really the only difference right there. The Charizard EX special art rare has gone up a little bit. It was about a $90 card a couple months ago. It's jumped up to over $100 now. So that's the most expensive of the secret rares now, sitting at $105.72. Then you've got $41.23 for the Blastoise. Alakazam's at $25.81. Zapdos is at $34.53. The Mew EX SAR is at $59.03. Remember, that's included in our 151 UPC. Over there, they didn't have it included in anything except in the set. Same thing with the Snorlax. Same thing with the Mewtwo. Those art rares over there are only included in the set. You have to pull those in a booster pack, whereas here, we get them as box promos. Erica's Invitation SAR, that one's selling for $43. That one has fallen a ton from where it first started. And then you've got a couple gold cards. Mew EX is at $13.27. The gold switches at $9.38, and the psychic gold energy also at $9.38. If we look at the art rares, for the most part, all of them are hovering right around $2, $3, $4, $5, $6. So you've got the Bulbasaur at $6.21. Kind of the same thing over here, where the stage 1, the basic, is more expensive than the stage 1 or the stage 2. So the basic Bulbasaur, or basic is more expensive than stage 1, I should say. Bulbasaur sitting at $6.21, but the Ivysaur only at $3.72. The Charmander sitting at $7.37. The Charmeleon only at $5.97. The Squirtle's at $5.46. The Wartortle only at $4.54. For the most part, everything else is right around that $5 mark. You've got $6.42 on the Pikachu. Everything else $3, $4, $2, $1. Like you've got $1.93 on the Tangela. So very inexpensive over there when it comes to those art rares. Here's that Snorlax we were just talking about at $3.04. Only pullable out of a booster pack over there. Same thing with the Mewtwo. You have to pull it out of a booster pack. $4.41. And then when it comes to the regular rares, what we would call just ultra rares over here, or double rares over here. Sorry, just double rares. The regular arts. Venusaur EX at $1.54, Charizard EX, that's the most expensive one, second most expensive one at $3.79. Everything else, for the most part, you've got Blastoise EX at $2.77. Everything else is basically a bulk EX card, hovering right around $2 or less, except for the Mew EX, which is a very playable card, playable in the majority of decks. Japan's league is completely set up differently than what we have over here in the US. They have tons and tons of people that attend leagues, tons and tons of people that attend championships and things like that. Lots of competitive cards that are needed over there, and that's why Mew EX has a little bit more value to it, because it is such a competitive card, sitting at $6.48. What we did is we took the averages of all of these categories and multiplied it by the pull rates of what you can expect to pull out of your Pokemon 151 booster box to determine what your average value kind of looks like. And here's what we came up with. So when it comes to your booster boxes, your regular arts, you are expected to get 4 out of your booster box from Japan. So in total, you're going to get about 9 total hits from your booster box. Remember, booster boxes over there are a little bit different. Terastal Festival, high class set, you get 10 booster packs. Every single pack is going to have an ultra rare in it. A set like Pokemon 151 is going to have double the amount of packs. So that's got 20 packs in it, but not a guarantee as far as an ultra rare goes per pack. So you're looking at 4 regular arts per booster box. You're looking at 3 art rares per booster box. And then you're looking at 1 secret rare per booster box plus that Master Ball as well. So in total, you're looking at basically 8 hits plus a Master Ball. Your average price point on the regular arts right now, sitting at $2.29. We just saw that looking at the majority of them. The only ones that were really above that $2.29 price point was like the Charizard at like $3, $4. And then you had the Mew, which was basically like $6, $7. Everything else right around that $2.50 mark, except for a few that were even below that. And then that means that your average value when it comes to your Pokemon 151 booster box, about $9.16. So we basically take the average value of each of that rarity and we multiply it by the amount that you are expected to pull in that booster box, so you get about $9.16 worth of value from that category, from that regular art category. When it comes to the art rares, kind of the same thing. Your average value on that about $4.13. Yeah, you could pull something like the Pikachu, and you could pull a little bit higher end, but you're probably going to pull a little bit of a lower end card as well. That's why it averages out to about $4.13. You're expected to get 3 of them out of your booster box, so in total, on average, your booster box is going to contain about $12.39 worth of value. When it comes to the secret rares, kind of all over the place, right? You could open up that Golem, you could open up that Jinx, and then all of a sudden you've got a $4 secret rare, or you could open up that Charizard, which is $105. You could open up that Mew, which is $57. So this is skewed a little bit, and there's not really a medium price point on Pokedata.io, at least not one that I could find. So that means your average price point per rarity about $18.35. So in your booster box, you're expected to pull about $18.35 worth of value. Same thing with the Master Ball. Yeah, it's skewed a little bit, but you saw based off of what we looked at, a lot of them selling for $9, $10, $11, somewhere around that category. So $14 seems like a fairly good average point if we average them all together. Yeah, you could pull that Gengar, you could pull that Pikachu, or you could pull the Dugtrio for $6.90. But on average, you're looking at about $14.01 worth of value out of your booster box. This is always an interesting thing to look at right here, your best box potential and your worst box potential. If you pull perfectly and you pull the most expensive out of every single category, every single rarity, you could pull $347.55. That means you're pulling the Charizard secret rare, you're pulling the Pikachu Master Ball, obviously a very loaded box. So if you're like, hey, I'm a gambler, I'm willing to spend $80 on a booster box, what's the best I can do? What's the best I can pull? Yeah, you could pull multiple Master Balls or multiple secret rares in the same box, but if you just pull based off of the pull rates that are normal, your best booster box is going to be $347.55 worth of value. However, on the flip side, your worst booster box is $19.02. Can you imagine opening up a booster box in Japan and only pulling $19.02 worth of value? value. That seems very, very painful. So that's definitely worth something to highlight and consider when it comes to opening up your product. If we take everything and we've added all together, so your value of pulls, about $53.91. So if we add all those different rarities together on what you're expected to pull, you're going to pull about $53.91 worth of value out of your Pokemon 151 booster box. A lot of people don't talk about them, but the reverse holos, especially in Pokemon 151, are selling for a pretty penny. Like they sell for like $2, $3, $4 a piece. So they're actually a very strong category to look at. We talk about those ancillary hits all the time when we open up English booster boxes and things like that. The trainers, the staples, things like that have a little bit of value associated with them, which really help. They're easier to pull and they add a lot of value to your booster box. Same thing, reverse holos over in Japan, you're going to get 19 of them because you open up 20 packs. One of them is going to be a Master Ball and 19 of them are going to be a reverse holo. So if they're selling for $1, $2, $3 a piece, you're looking at least $20 in value just out of those as well. So you add those to your value of pulls, and you're looking at about $73.91 worth of value when it comes to opening up your booster box, which actually isn't that bad. Now, the lowest box cost right now, or not the lowest box cost, but a decent deal, Sakura's Card Shop right now has them on sale for $90 or has them available for $90, which is a decent price point. Now, that could come down a little bit with this reprint that we're expecting from that's going to hit 7-Elevens and things like that, but it might not. It might not impact it that much. And with the holiday season coming up and spending going up a little bit now, there's a lot of focus on Terastal Festival, which could help a little bit, and you might be able to start finding booster boxes for a little bit cheaper, and we might get another reprint in the near future. We're still not out of that reprint window quite as of yet when it comes to 151, but definitely something you want to keep an eye on and monitor as we move forward. That means your loss on this is going to be about $16.09 if you purchase it at that $90 price point. Now, you could find it for cheaper, I'm sure, if you look around hard enough, and you could definitely find it for more expensive if you just easily look around. But $16.09, not too bad of a fun cost, especially if you compare that to when we look at a lot of sets in English. A lot more expensive, a lot more of a loss on a lot of different cases. You open up Surging Sparks right now, you're going to lose a decent amount unless you pull that special illustration or Pikachu. Obviously, you open up Evolving Skies. If you don't pull that Moonbreon, forget about it. It's going to be an absolute disaster. So $16 is about your fun cost going into it. Can you have $16 worth of fun opening up your Pokemon 151 booster box? Yeah, probably, but it's something to consider as you move forward and make the best decision when it comes to spending your collection budget. It's going to be very interesting looking at something like this as it pertains to Terastal Festival in the near future, and that's something that I do want to kind of highlight as we move forward. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please hit that subscribe button down below, leave a like, leave a comment. It obviously goes a long way for the algorithm. I say it every time, so it means a lot. Seriously, it does. YouTube just kind of really focuses on how much people enjoy the content and retention, things like that. So anytime you do anything like that, it means a lot. So thank you so much. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. We'll be back on Tuesday opening some Terastal Festival, hopefully, as long as everything comes in on time. You guys have a great Sunday, a great Monday. I'll talk to you soon. Until next time, peace.